Hi Tanvi, how are you doing?
Hi, all good. What about you?
Welcome. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Chartered School.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. And for the viewers, let me tell you कि आज हम लोग तन्वी के साथ में conversation करने वाले हैं जिसमें हम discuss करेंगे about forensic audit. Why not you introduce yourself?
So, I am a chartered accountant and I qualified in the November 2019 examinations. I've known Sanket since almost 5 years now. We've done articleship together. And post qualification, we went our separate ways, and I joined currently working at Deloitte in their forensic audit practice. And it's been 2 years for me doing forensic audits now.
तो तन्वी जो है बिग फोर में और फोरेंसिक ऑडिट में और ये फोरेंसिक ऑडिट का जो फील्ड होता है ना जनरली हमारे दिमाग में नहीं आता कि इसमें भी जाया जा सकता है हम लोग सिर्फ ऑडिट के पार्ट को पढ़ के और खत्म कर देते हैं बट तन्वी चोज टू गो इनटू फोरेंसिक ऑडिट विद समथिंग वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग और बिफोर वी आस्क क्वेश्चंस जो आपको हेल्प करने वाले हैं मैं बता दूं कि हमारा थोड़ा बहुत ना फोरेंसिक ऑडिट का एक्सपीरियंस रहा है आर्टिकलशिप में we've done and you I think you've done 3 assignments, right?
Yeah. And one of them we've done it together.
Yeah, one of them we did together. And मेरा 2 असाइनमेंट्स रहे फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट के उसका एक्सपीरियंस रहा है तो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग होता है बट फिर भी इतना इंटरेस्टिंग भी नहीं था कि मैं एज अ करियर ऑप्शन चूज करूं बट तन्वी हैड डेफिनेटली चोजन दिस सो इज इट द फैक्ट कि वो इंटरेस्टिंग आर्टिकलशिप में था इसीलिए आपने यू डिसाइडेड टू गो फॉर इट फॉर द जॉब एज वेल?
Yeah, so amongst the kind of work that I encountered during articleship, I personally liked the kind of work that I did during those forensic audit projects. So I decided to, try my hand at forensic audit, right post qualification. And since I liked doing the kind of work that I was getting to do, I decided to continue there. And yeah, it's been 2 years for me almost here. So it's been a good experience for me, and I personally enjoy the work that I do. So I think
it's very rare to listen to somebody say ki I am enjoying my work, especially when you are in Big Four. That's good thing. Tell me something कि आपका जो एक्सपीरियंस रहा है आर्टिकलशिप का मतलब हमारा जो एक्सपीरियंस रहा था आर्टिकलशिप में फोरेंसिक करने का उससे अभी जो आप करते हो वो कितना डिफरेंट है या कितना सिमिलर है?
Actually, the kind of work that I did under forensic audit during articleship and what I'm doing right now is extremely different. So during articleship, we did a couple of assignments wherein we had to look at some NPAs of of banks. But like the kind of work that I'm doing right now is not at least the field that I work in is not the banking sector. So I mainly work in, forensic investigations of, say, companies which are not pertaining to the financial sector, and it basically deals with, like accounting frauds or siphoning of money or even, leakage of data, and we try to find out, the persons involved from the company, what was the modus operandi of the fraud, and what were the process gaps due to which the fraud happened, and how then we help the management to close those gaps in their process.
अच्छा, साउंड्स इंटरेस्टिंग. तो जितना इंटरेस्टिंग साउंड कर रहा है एक्चुअल में जब काम करने जाते हैं मतलब हमने सुना है कि ऑडिट भी साउंड बहुत अच्छा करता है जब आर्टिकलशिप ज्वाइन करने के पहले बट करने जाते हैं उसके बाद में फिर पता चलता है कि वर्क पेपर ही फेल करने. तो हाउ एग्जैक्टली इज योर वर्क लाइक कि आप क्या करते हो?
So a typical workday for me would look like it honestly depends on the project that you're working on. So over my 2 years of experience in forensic audits, I have dealt with many clients across various industries, and even the mandate, the scope of the work is vastly different from one another. So if I've done like say uh, 15-20 engagements in the past 2 years, all those 15-20 engagements pertain to different scopes of work. The mandate of the management of the company was different. So but a typical forensic investigation would look like when the company management suspects that a fraud is happening in their company. A fraud could happen in their company. It can be either reactive or proactive. They appoint us, and we then tell the management as to these these are the typical work steps that we would do to close the audit. And then we decide the scope of work with the management. Again, since it's not regulated by any act or by any standard, we have the flexibility to decide the scope of work, and to even revise it as and when we go on about the engagement. So since it's not regulated by any act or standard, we keep on revising the terms as and when the audit process goes on. But typically in a forensic investigation, say if it is an accounting fraud, we look at the accounts of a company. If it's an accounting fraud, then we look at the accounts of the of that particular area in which the fraud is suspected to happen. Then the employees who typically are involved in that particular accounting section, and who could be involved, and what is the trend of data that we're seeing. We also have some forensic tools that we use to analyze any unusual kind of trends. Or we also do some market intelligence research about the suspected employees. And over and above this, we also sometimes look at the laptop data of the suspected employees, and all the electronically stored information, to find out if there is any document or any user file which could help us in cracking the case, and how this whole fraud scheme was perpetrated by the employee. But again, in many cases, we also do not, like, mainly forensic investigations also happen when a whistleblower complaint is raised by an anonymous person of the company, saying that so and so person is suspected to be involved in so and so scheme. But many a times, if we do not have any pinching evidence against a person, even though the person was named in the whistleblower complaint, we cannot take it ahead, since there is no pinching evidence. So again, as I said, every project that I have worked on vastly differed from the previous one. So there is no set rules or standards or any kind of law that you should know. It's just as in when you decide with the management, and you just go ahead with the scope of work that is decided. And I think that is what I personally like the most about the job that I do, that I do not have to it's not monotonous, in the sense that I don't have to, like, my each project differs from the other. So every day I get to, like, learn new things, and get to work on different things. So I think that's what I like the most about my job.
जनरली जब फोरेंसिक के बारे में सुनते हैं ना, तो वैसा मतलब ये एक पॉइंट तो आपने बोला कि यू गो थ्रू द एम्प्लॉय डेटा एज वेल, तो जस्ट आउट ऑफ क्यूरियोसिटी एंड फन, ऐसा कुछ ऐसा इंट्रीगिंग सा, ये बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग सा इंफॉर्मेशन कुछ मिलता है कभी कभी?
Yeah, of course. Sometimes we even find out details that we were not supposed to know. But of course, we don't use it against that individual.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
But yeah, we do get such information as well.
Do you also have these interviews जहाँ पर मतलब ऐसे वो पूछताछ या तलाश में?
So if a particular person is named in the whistleblower complaint, or if the management suspects that so and so person might be involved in the fraud, we even conduct interviews with such persons. And it's kind of the interviews can be like just like a general discussion, or if we have like hard pinching evidence against that person, then it can be kind of an interrogation interview also.
Oh.
But but generally, like we as CA freshers, or we as the most junior people in the organization, we do not directly get to interview the suspect. Usually it is a person of the director or partner level who conducts these interviews. But of course, we get to be a part of it. But yeah, we do not get to ask questions.
That must be so interesting to sit through that process.
Correct. And sometimes like very sad also.
Very sad.
Yeah, because you don't know if that person is actually involved, and that person is going through a harrowing experience, and we don't know if he or she deserves to go through this.
Yeah. One interesting question for all the students जो CA बनने की कोशिश करते हैं, and then they मतलब once they become CA and they want to go for forensic audit, so do they need prior articleship experience, या फिर बिना experience के भी जा सकते हैं?
So a prior articleship experience will of course help, but I don't honestly think that it is necessary. But I would say that if you have like a strong, if you have like some experience in internal audit, then it might kind of help, because it's not like completely like related, but if you have done some internal audits, the processes of a company, what should be the typical gold standard process, and then you can maybe analyze, okay, this is missing in this process and this is a process lapse, and hence this is maybe how you could improve the process, and this is how the person might have taken advantage of this process lapse and perpetrated the fraud. So that is one. I think internal audit experience can help, but otherwise, I don't think there is a strict requirement, for any person to have any prior experience, because as I said, the scope of each project is different, and the learning is, as and when is on the field, and it's as and when you go about a project. So I personally don't think that you need a prior experience, say in forensic audit, before joining.
काफी सारे ऐसे आर्टिकल्स होते हैं ना जिन्होंने आर्टिकलशिप की होती है, सो दे आर डूइंग दिस देयर आर्टिकलशिप, परसुइंग द आर्टिकलशिप फ्रॉम स्मॉल सिटीज, स्मॉल प्लेसेस, एंड वर्किंग इन फर्म्स जहां पर उन्हें मोस्टली इधर दे हैव टू डू टैक्स कंप्लायंसेस और या फिर बेसिक लेवल का ऑडिट वगैरह करने को मिलता है. So in that sense, they do not get to much understand the processes of the companies, or they do not get to interact with such huge companies, जिसका mostly जब बिग फोर पे जाते हैं तो डेफिनेटली फिर वो करने के लिए मिलता है. एंड फोरेंसिक्स भी आई एम श्योर कि आपके पास में बहुत बड़े कॉर्पोरेट क्लाइंट्स या फिर जो क्लाइंट्स होंगे वो काफी बड़े लेवल, बड़े स्कोप के होंगे. सो इन दैट केस, क्योंकि उनके पास में एक्सपीरियंस की कमी है, ऑफ कोर्स दे वुड हैव टू गो थ्रू दिस टेक्निकल इंटरव्यू बिफोर ज्वाइनिंग फॉर फोरेंसिक ऑडिट. तो इज देयर एनी स्पेसिफिक कोर्स जो उन्हें हेल्प कर सकेगा?
I think there's this course called CFE, which is a certification program. I think if you complete that course, then it adds great value to your CV if you want to join forensic audits, because basically in that course, as the name goes, certified fraud examiner, it covers all aspects of how to go about investigating a fraud, and at least the basics of it. It's not a very sophisticated high level course. It is as compared to CA, it's obviously very completing the course is not as much as of a hazard as completing CA final. But yeah, I think if a person wants to seriously take up forensic audit, and if he or she does not have good like relevant experience in that domain, then I think CFE is the best course that a person should do. And of course, read up on the upcoming forensic accounting standards that our institute also has been, it's in the draft stage, of course. But I think reading those would also help the person get a fair idea on what, is expected, what are the typical work steps, and, what is expected of each of you in forensic audit, basically. And also in all these forensic audit interviews, the questions which are typically asked involves a case study wherein you're given, like, say this, you see like the management of the company has approached you with this problem. What are the preliminary work steps that you would do? What are the, how would you go about cracking the case and all? So I think if you have an analytical mind, and if you can think of, why this happened, then I think, that should be enough in, impressing the interviewer and getting selected, because like basically it all comes down to how good you can analyze a case, and how how well you're able to figure out what went wrong here and why the fraud was committed. So I think anyone with an analytical mind can go about it without having a formal certification also in any of these areas.
वंडरफुल, थैंक यू फॉर दिस एडेड बोनस टिप जो आपने मुझे बताया अभी, एंड व्यूअर्स को बताया जो इंटरव्यू में पूछे जाते हैं उसके बारे में. So already we have established that your job is not monotonous, it's very interesting, plus you get to do certain interesting stuff like going through employees data and sitting through the interviews and interrogations, but ये हर दिन तो करने के लिए मिलता नहीं है. So what gets you out of the bed every day apart from managers के calls?
Mostly it's managers calls, but and the fact that that they pay me, but
Yeah, of course.
apart from that, I think So what I like the most about my job, as I said, is every day I get to do something different, and I get to every day if I am on a particular project, I never know like what work step will lead me to ultimately cracking the case. Like say for example, in one of my previous investigations, we were at like a preliminary stage of the investigation, and we did not think that we would be able to crack the case. I think it was just day 2 or 3 on the project, but one of my colleagues was analyzing some data, and he really found out something which helped us crack the entire case in like 2 or 3 days, instead of the planned timeline was like a month, but we were able to wrap up the entire thing in like 3-4 days, at least the cracking the case part. And then yeah, of course all that reporting and all still remains, but we were able to find out what went wrong. So I think what I like the most about my job is the you never know what you're gonna find out about that person, about the case on that day, and you could even end up wrapping up the project which you thought might last for say a month or so. So I think that is one of the best part about my job, that I don't know what's in store for me for that particular day, and it's always interesting to find out what we're going to find out on that day.
सो बेसिकली वो लोग जो क्राइम डिटेक्टिव सीरीज में बहुत ज्यादा इंटरेस्टेड होते हैं उनके लिए एक मिनिएचर वर्जन आ जाता है यहाँ पर.
I think so, yeah, like a crime series but with like financial
फाइनेंशियल साइड.
financial side of it. Yes,
करेक्ट
definitely.
करेक्ट. तो फिर मतलब जैसे अभी आपने 1 महीने का प्रोग्राम बनाया था, प्लान किया था, एंड 3-4 डेज में यू वर एबल टू क्रैक द केस. सो ऑफ कोर्स वो डेडलाइन काफी कम हो गई होगी मतलब उसके बाद में.
Correct.
तो हाउ हाउ इज वर्किंग लाइफ फॉर यू, मतलब वो वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस कैसे मेंटेन होता है या कैसे जाता है जनरली?
So honestly, work-life balance is something, like typically in any big fours, irrespective of the department that you work in, your working day at least looks like a minimum of say 9 to 10 hours, and and like typically if if you're on a tight deadline, then it can even go up to say 15 14 15
Hmm.
hours, and but not every day of course, but
Hmm.
exceptionally yes, you're expected to go through so many hours and even work on the weekends, but typically a work day would look like 9 to 10 working hours.
Okay.
So I don't think it's too bad for, especially for a big four, because I don't think like 8 working hours is like the norm for any person working in any of the big fours. It's not too bad, but again, it really depends on the kind of project that you're plotted on, and what are the expectations, what are the timelines, and all of that. So there's no set standard or rule that one can expect.
एंड ऑफ कोर्स मतलब जो डिपार्टमेंट होता है वो तो काफी सारे असाइनमेंट्स के साथ में हमेशा ही होता है बिकॉज फ्रॉड्स आर नॉट reducing anytime soon. So
Correct.
in that sense,
And also since some projects are extremely time sensitive, as in if you know that there's an ongoing fraud, the management wants to find what is happening at the earliest possible time, and close the gaps in their processes and not delay it. So they, for some very time sensitive engagements, we are expected to put in a lot of hours and give an answer to the management as soon as we can. So yeah, I mean again, it depends on the kind of project that you're working on.
okay. So in that sense, I think we've almost covered each and everything about forensic audit. And अभी honestly मतलब मुझे जितना पता था उससे ज्यादा interested हूँ मैं अभी काम करने के लिए, पर of course I'm not going to.
I wish you'd come here.
Yeah, we have had fun. But is there anything else that you would like to share with the viewers? Anything in general related to forensic audit, or in general related to CA, or how should they study, या फिर कुछ ऐसे subjects जिनके ऊपर extra focus they should do for getting into forensic audit?
Um, so I don't have anything else to say pertaining to the work of forensic audits, but in terms of as a student, if you're still like in CA final, then I don't think there's any particular subject that a person, like I don't honestly think there is something that a person should focus on per se for forensic audits, but I think in our auditing portion, there is something, I think a couple of chapters on forensic audits, but again, that is very preliminary and very basic level. But yeah, I think that is 1 or 2 chapters that can help the student understand more as to what, a person is expected to know in forensic audit if that person wants to pursue a career in forensic audits. But other than that, I don't think there is specific technical knowledge or skill set that is required to join. Only having an analytical mind and able to understand what went wrong here can help you get into forensic audit domain.
That brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much, Tanvi, for coming and sharing your
Thank you. I had
sharing the
fun
knowledge that you
too.
have. And if anyone is interested to connect with Tanvi, I'll leave her LinkedIn ka ID ka link in the description box below. You can feel free to connect with her on LinkedIn.
Yes, absolutely. I had fun and thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun as well, and I hope ki viewers ko bhi काफी information at the same time. You also guys had fun with us. Thank you so much for watching, and all the best. I'll see you next time. If you like the content, hit like and share with your friends. Subscribe to the channel using this link. To know about our free career guide, click on that link. And to study SCMP, click on this link. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.